Okay, so we wanted to talk about the press release about the approved assessments over end of year testing grades. I guess the big question is, why make that change?
Yeah, so, I've heard this from parents all over the state, heard it from teachers all over the state. This end of year federally government required testing is just a nightmare. It takes for some districts over a month to get through all of it. We did a survey of parents a few weeks ago, 20,000 responses, 81% said they hate the state test. They hate the way that they are. And some of the feedback they gave us was, hey, it gives us information that isn't super helpful and it's so delayed. We don't get it till over the summer. So we started looking and saying, look, what if we gave parents more feedback in real time? How are your kids doing after 4 weeks, after 6 weeks? Gave you that data. And we started working with the Trump administration and said, hey, what if we collected the information on how kids are doing this way instead of this big end of year testing model? And they were all for it. And again, the beauty of President Trump's plan of returning power back to the states is we gave them a plan. We showed Oklahomans support it. And we said, listen, this actually helps us drive student outcomes by making judgments within the year of what we need to change or what's working or what's not. And again, they've been great partners in this. So we're very excited to say, hey, parents, teachers, we're going to give you more of an ability to see how are kids learning in real time rather than forcing a federal government required test on you at the end of the year.
And what are these quote unquote approved benchmark assessments? What are those?
Great question. So here's what most districts do. Every 6 to 9 weeks, think about it like this. When you do parent-teacher conferences, things like those, that's kind of these quarterly benchmark reports where they go, hey, here's where your kids are at. Well, we're saying that's the time to do these snapshot tests. Okay, how many standards have you covered to this point? Have you gone through 3 state standards? Okay, let's measure student success right then on those 3 standards, give the feedback to parents, collect that information, let's see how the kids are doing, make the adjustments as necessary. And that will be what we're going to be considering the test to see how kids are performing. And so that's what it'll look like. It'll look like a test every 6 to 9 weeks that measure in real time. Okay, how do they learn these standards? Have they met the core competencies here? And then we move forward from there.
So they're going to be more quarterly assessments instead of just one big end of the year test.
Correct. And that way also your kids, if they don't know it, you're going to know it right then. You're not going to have to wait till the end of the year and go, wait, you didn't understand this part of what you were learning this year. No, you'll know it in a much quicker way. And again, teachers are saying, well, that's what we always want too, by the way. We want to know in real time. So if we need to go back and reteach something or syndicated tutoring, we know that now rather than at the end of the year. So this will allow teachers to focus more on making sure kids understand the standards as they're teaching them rather than, then adjusting at the end of the year to go, now there's this big test that we've got all prep for. No, teach the standards, make sure kids are learning on grade level or above, and then boom, continue to move forward.
And does this mean each district will have their own assessment, or will there be a standardized one come down from the state?
A good question. So what we're doing is we're going to give districts a lot of autonomy over this. As long as these tests are comparable and we can do compatibility on the back end and norm them nationally. So again, what we want to be able to do is compare how kids are doing in real time with other districts and nationally. So again, this gives districts a lot of an ability to go out and go, hey, look, we like this one better than that one. As long as it's comparable, as long as it's compatible, then there's no issues there. So again, we see most districts in the state use these models. So we're saying we're going to take something off of your plate. The state can come in and help support with resources and finances to say, hey, we want to build up what you're already doing so that we have a better indicator in real time how these kids are performing.
And by comparability, it's so that way you can measure the same performance if the test at TPS versus Oklahoma City can line up a little bit.
Exactly. So we will still be able to compare districts. We will still be able to compare our state and districts inside our state to other states. But now we'll be able to do it throughout the year with this different type of model rather than waiting until over the summer to see how kids are performing. That gives us much more of a real-time ability to make any adjustments necessary to make sure every kid is learning on grade level.
And this might speak to district autonomy, like you said, but how will the content and methodology differ from these end of year tests?
Yeah, so I mean, listen, the methodology and everything, it remains the same. I mean, it's still very similar, but instead of it being a one-size-fits-all model that the government says this is what you got to do at the end of the year, we're saying, listen, there's multiple ways to assess student learning. We want to drill that decision down to a local level. We want parents more involved in that decision-making process. We want parents more involved to see the information in real time. So that gives us much more of an ability to have that buy-in, number one. But number two, also, so teachers aren't teaching them multiple tests. So they're not going, okay, now at the end of the year, this test's going to look a lot different. No, no, no. Whatever you're testing to see how kids are performing, that's what you're going to do all year. So focus on the content, focus on the mastery of the content. And again, you don't have to worry about this massive 4 to 6 week window at the end of the year where, again, stress is high. Teachers are teaching to the test. No, teach to the standards. Teach to what you're trying to make sure they learn. We'll measure it in real time and we'll be able to see how kids are performing.
Okay. And some of the communication feedback we've gotten from legislators already, we've brought up that this could be similar to other, I guess, press releases we've received, like the PragerU testing for incoming teachers, free school lunch program, the American Virtual Academy, where some legislators say there's a longer process to get that done. How do we know that this one is going to stick?
Oh, well, it's done. So, yeah, I mean, we've met every requirement of every state statute. We've been working with the Trump administration for a while now on this. So, again, President Trump's team has been tremendous. This is exactly when we brought this to them, this is exactly what we want. We're bringing power back to the states for you all to have solutions that drive student learning. So that was the real measurement here is will the federal government allow this to meet their requirements? And the answer has been yes. So again, we're going to be able to move forward. We're very excited. We've been being inundated with messages from district leadership, from teachers, from parents that are very excited that now this weight has been lifted off of them. We can still get the information, but we're going to do it in a way that is not this top-heavy federal government apparatus on our districts.
And so you've consulted with legislators on this a little bit?
Oh, yeah. Legislators have been in the loop. That they know what's going on. And again, they know this meets all the statutory requirements.
Does this require board approval at the next meeting?
No.
Okay. So you're saying these benchmark assessments that are going to be quarterly, they fall in line with the Oklahoma State Testing Act?
Correct.
Okay. I saw there was I apologize. I just want to make sure I get my acronyms right. The public ESS waiver peer review was sent in for this. I thought that had an approval period for this to all be set in stone.
Yeah, this is the final part of that. So that's why we've been working with them. This is the final stage of you announce, you formally submit, but this is what we've been working with the Trump administration for a while. So again, we have been meeting their requirements. We have set this up with them, worked through this with them. So this the final step is to officially submit it. But we've been working with them to make sure that this is all approved, and so we're happy to move forward.
I saw the approval. Sorry, the request was for 5 years of the change. Is that just enough time to come reassess the change?
Well, number one, there won't be a federal Department of Education in 5 years. So again, we'll have this done so that this can be the measurement moving forward. Number one, but number two, that's just the way the waivers work. I mean, we wanted this, and again, working with the Trump administration, how do you typically submit a waiver? How does all this work? How do we make sure this gets approved quickly? So it's following that model. But again, President Trump is moving very quickly to make sure that we don't have a federal Department of Education. So again, as more power comes to the states, you're going to continue to see Oklahoma be the leader in how we innovate and reform an education system. So we've got the best education possible for our kids. So you're going to see more of this from the Trump administration. You're going to see more of an ability for us as Oklahomans to make decisions on what best meets the needs of our kids. And so it's a very exciting time to be in Oklahoma. It's a very exciting time to be in education.
And this one might be obvious because I know it's been criticized and praised multiple times, but what was it you didn't like about the end of year testing?
Yeah, well, I'm just going to rattle through a few things because this is what we heard from parents time and time again. Number one, it didn't assess the things that they want. It was too far removed from when their kids learned the material. So now I know that they didn't learn it. Okay, well, that would have been good information to know 6 months ago, right? Teachers don't like it because teachers are saying, well, listen, I'm already testing these standards. Why are we retesting at the end of the year through a whole other type of testing company, through a whole other type of testing system? And lastly, parents are saying, listen, some of our kids did well earlier in the year, but they got stressed out because the school had to shut down basically for a month to get all of the testing done. Could we not just measure it in a way that's less stressful in real time? So again, if my kid's not learning it, I want to know, I want it to be corrected. I don't want this to be this overly stressful event at the end of the year. Let's measure it more often in real time. And again, we absolutely want to know where they are at the end of the year, but instead of it being this big build into a test that they have not been taking, let's make it more consistent with the state standards, with the learning in the classroom, so that again, kids are prepared throughout the year, not just at the very end.
And why just grades 3 through 8? Could we expect changes for more grades ahead?
Great question. So the grades 3 through 8 are the most onerous requirements from the federal government. So that's why 3 through 8. 3 through 8 all has to test reading and math every single year. So that is the bulk of our tests. So with this one fell swoop, we've eliminated most of the government required tests with one swoop. So there are some others, but again, there's one test in a certain grade level. There's two tests in another grade level. So those are not near the onerous nature of the 3rd through 8th grade testing. So this was the big bulk. When you talk to districts, these are the tests that end up taking the most amount of time. Again, we talk about a 3rd grader, pretty young child here that's having to go through this type of testing. So instead, that's why this has been our point of emphasis. This is what we heard the most feedback on from parents.
How long did this poll go for? How long was that out?
Oh, it was an email. I don't remember, but yeah, it was 20,000 responses. 81% said that they didn't like the state testing. And again, we can give you some more information around that. But we sent an email to all the parents in the state, said, hey, we asked them a lot of, where do your kids go to school, kind of what's their grade level, and then we got into these questions. So again, it was tremendous feedback to not only know what the parents thought, but also what did the 3rd grade parents think, what did the high school parents think. So that gave us a great kind of a snapshot of where parents in the state are.
And I'm kind of wrapping up my questions here. I know
Yeah.
you're probably on a time crunch, but
Okay, no
House
problem.
Education Oversight Chairman Dale Curbs, he did release a statement on it. He said end of year state assessments are mandated by both state and federal law. So how does this fit into that if we need end of year testing? I'm
Yeah.
confused on that part.
Yeah, I guess he doesn't understand. So, and again, they've been told this multiple times. What the federal government requires is that you assess student learning and that there is an end of year component to that. This plan meets every requirement from the federal government. There will be snapshots throughout the year. Every standard will be assessed. There will be data to show what kids learned this year. There will be the ability to do that. But what we're doing is saying we are not going to do a federal government required test. We are going to provide autonomy for districts. We're going to provide flexibility to districts. We're not going to do this heavy-handed government test at the end of the year. So we have met every requirement. The feds have signed off on that. The feds understand that. It meets every statutory requirement. So we're good to move forward.
That sums up all the questions on my list. Is there more you'd like to talk about, or does that sum it up for you as well?
No, look, I'll just say this in closing. Look, we're very excited, Oklahoma being the first state to really lean into this to say, listen, we're going to eliminate this federal government apparatus testing system. We're going to return power to parents and teachers. We want parents and teachers to be able to accurately assess how kids are performing. This is a huge step in that direction. It's very exciting to be in education in Oklahoma. And again, I think we're going to have the best school year ever.